Welcome back to the Purpose Podcast, Raleigh. We are excited to be back after a bit of a hiatus for the holidays. I'm Gordon.
And I'm Matt.
And we are excited to be joined by our friend Steve today.
Good morning.
Remind me your last name one more time.
Dale.
Steve Dale, our guy. And he's going to tell us a little bit about himself. He's going to tell us a little bit about saving money. And he's going to tell us about his experience in business, and we're excited to do that. So we help people live with intention here, and we're going to learn more about Steve. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
So we start this out normally. We want to get to know you a little bit. We want to kind of hear your quick background, your 5 minutes,
Sure.
whatever long it takes. So tell us about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm a 40-year enterprise sales veteran. I've sold everything from security firewalls to internet access.
Okay.
So after that 40-year span, I decided that I wanted to do something for myself, and that's where Schooley-Mitchell comes into play. But I'm a proud parent of 2 adult daughters and 2 grandchildren, so my lovely wife and I are very blessed in that arena, and
Excellent.
I keep hoping that she won't figure out that she could have done so much better than me.
No, just don't tell her. Just let them keep thinking it. Stockholm syndrome. So
Got it.
Right?
Yep.
That's how I got my wife too. It's smart. That's what you got to do. Where are you from?
I'm originally from the D.C. area.
Okay.
From Maryland. So I've been down here about 22 years. My career brought me down here with my family, and I've loved living in Raleigh, and I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. And
Nice.
Yep.
Did you grow up in the D.C. area?
I did.
Parents were like military or
My
government?
dad worked at the White House. So, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What did he do?
He was the director of the White House Travel Office.
Really?
He
Wow.
was.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So he was like telling Air Force One where to go and stuff.
Not so much.
Okay.
No, he was taking directions from
Gotcha.
from the occupants of Air Force One, I'm sure.
Gotcha.
So,
Sounds like a cool
yeah,
gig though.
it was.
Did you like growing up like in the Beltline area?
I did. I missed the DC sports teams, but yeah, it was a great place to grow up. But this is a great place to be from now.
Sure. So did you go to school somewhere, go to college? What was your path?
I went to college for a little while and then decided that I wanted to get out into the working world. And so I started in my career in the IT world. I actually worked at the White House. And an interesting tidbit is I installed an IBM display writer in the Oval Office.
Not everybody gets to say that.
No, not at all.
Nobody was there when
Well,
I was
there you
doing it. But, well, myself and a Secret Service agent were there. But
A display writer. Now,
that was
what is that?
the early form of a word processor.
Okay.
So I
I
don't
was
know.
expecting I could tell you, but then I have to kill
Right,
you.
right,
But
exactly.
it's kind of answer.
I don't know what the function of it was in the Oval Office, but they wanted one in there, and I put it in there. So
Okay. Cool. And so then from there you got into sales?
I did get into sales. I went to work for Sprint
Okay.
as a government account rep. I was calling on the VA, which was really a cool thing because we were doing telemedicine.
Sure.
And I met a couple of VA veterans, and it really crystallized what I was doing because they told me the stories. One of them lived in Arizona, and they had to take a 4-hour bus ride, 2 hours each way, to go get their toe looked at. And they'd get on the bus and they'd go 2 hours, and the doctor would look at their toe and prescribe something, and they'd get on the bus and go back. And the telemedicine initiative that the VA had allowed them to do video medicine.
Really?
So the
What year was this?
This was 91.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't know that telemedicine had been around that long.
Yeah.
I
It
didn't
seems
either,
like this
actually.
new thing that,
Well, it was
last
very
10
new
years.
back then. It was
Yeah, it sounds like
absolutely
you were on the cutting edge of that.
Well, the company was, yeah.
That's cool.
But I sold it, but it was really the first time I was able to see the value in what it was I was doing. Because so many times in sales, you're selling things that may not necessarily believe in or understand how they work. But that was a cool milestone in my career.
You were
And one-
specifically helping veterans
I
get
was,
healthier
yeah.
more
I
quickly.
was, yep.
That's very cool.
Yep.
And maybe saving the government a little money, which thank you.
Well,
I appreciate that.
I tried.
Always comes around.
Yeah, it always comes
Taxes
around,
stuff,
doesn't
right?
it?
Yep.
I have a question for you, Steve. How did you kind of bump into the world of sales and just figured, hey, let's give this a shot? Or did you know pretty much from earlier on, I'm pretty good at this, or talking to people or helping people solve problems? How did that become your, I guess, avenue of
Well, I was a systems engineer for Cisco, and as a systems engineer, my role was to go out with the sales guys and make sure that they didn't
Sell the wrong thing.
sell something that
Overpromise,
didn't. Yeah,
underdeliver.
exactly.
It's an important job.
So I saw a lot of bad salespeople, making a lot of money. And I thought, I might be able to do a little better job at this. And it's debatable whether I did a better job or not, but I certainly enjoyed it. And I certainly enjoyed the people interaction. As an IT guy, a lot of times you find yourself behind a keyboard or staring at a monitor all day. I really enjoyed being out talking to people. So.
And when you jumped into sales, what were some of the things that you did to learn sales, to get better, to kind of hone that craft? I
had a couple of mentors who really made a difference in my career. They saw something in me and decided that maybe they could make something out of me, and they spent a lot of time with me, and I'll be forever indebted to them. So I thank them whenever I see them.
What kind of lessons did they teach you?
They taught me that I had 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I
listen twice as much.
I have fallen back on that a number of times. Yeah. And they reinforced something that I learned from a Dale Carnegie book I read in high school, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. And I've tried to march with that mantra throughout my career, and it seemed to serve me well.
Yeah. Okay, so then you get into Cisco, and you're in sales with Cisco. Is that right?
No, you were
a sales engineer.
I was a sales engineer.
And then where was your sales? You said, I'm going to get into sales. Where was that?
I tried to get into sales at Cisco, but they wouldn't hire me because they had no sales experience.
They had no vision.
No vision. What kind of company would they become? But
nothing.
So I started my sales career at Sprint.
Okay.
Ironically, I started my sales career not long after I got married. So as life changes and no longer is it just about me, it put a little pressure on me. I thought, I better get good at this, or I'm taking somebody else down with me. So that was how I got started, and I spent about 3 years with Sprint, and then I went to Checkpoint, and that was really where my career kind of jump-started. I went to work for them as a global account manager. So I was calling on AT&T, and I was calling on AT&T all over the world. And after 9/11, excuse me, I was traveling back and forth between New Jersey and Cary, North Carolina, and my boss came to me. He's like, I've been looking at your expense reports, and he's like, I think we might need to move you to either Cary or New Jersey. And I'm like, well, I'm not moving to New Jersey.
Right. No thanks.
North Carolina is where I was.
Easy decision.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so what was Checkpoint? What did they do?
They were the first internet firewall company.
Okay.
So they developed some software that was a firewall. So when you connect to the internet, the firewall either allowed or blocked people from connecting to you, or you connecting out.
Right.
So.
Yeah, just like the nascent internet kind of technology, right?
Yep.
That's pretty cool. And then, so were you there for a while?
I was there for about 6 years, and after the 5th year, I was just wildly successful. I'm just going to be honest about it. Man. I was the number 2 rep in the world for Checkpoint, and after that, I thought, there's something else for me to do.
Yeah.
So I left the sales world and I started my own business. I was doing managed Wi-Fi for condo associations. So imagine, you go to the beach and you see those shoe boxes on the beach. My company did the managed Wi-Fi for that. So that was where, we would partner with the Time Warners or Spectrums of the world, and we would manage the thousands of visitors that they had every week and make sure that they could get on the internet and make sure the equipment was working. So I did that for 10 years and I sold it. And then 10 years ago, I decided, I'm too young to retire. I didn't sell it for enough money to retire, so I got to do something. So I went back to work for a couple of different companies, but I never found the passion that I had from owning my own business. Yeah. So I knew inherently that one day I was going to do what I'm doing now, and that's kind of the road that led me to Schooley-Mitchell, and I'm thrilled to be here.
So you took all this business. You have tons of experience, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and you've been involved in numerous businesses, mostly in the tech field, obviously. What drew you to, so Schooley-Mitchell, for those that don't know, is an organization, and tell me, this is a good exercise, right? See if someone else can tell what you do, right? You come into a business typically with business owners, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And you help identify savings, and then essentially you don't charge anything until they save money. It
Correct.
Sounds like, right?
Sounds like I've done a good job.
Yeah. So you
telling
help businesses save money and then get paid on the backside when they save that money.
Right.
So how did you decide that was what you wanted to do?
Well, I was working with my friend Dan Pendergrass.
We love Dan.
And Dan is a great guy.
man.
And he kept presenting these franchise opportunities to me, and I'd say, well, no, that's too capital intensive. No, that's too many employees. So we just worked our way through it. And he called me one day and he's like, I got somebody I want you to talk to. And he said, I think that you would enjoy this. And he was right. So I did the discovery days with the franchisor, and I just kept thinking about it. And I thought, after 40 years of selling stuff, I really want to sell something I believe in and something that helps people. It sounds altruistic, but it's the truth. We help our clients save money.
Yep.
And as a small business owner, which I was, that's a comfort to them, because I remember when I was selling internet by the day or the week or the month at campgrounds in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, I would get a statement every month, and I would look at the merchant account fees, and I'm thinking, man, I could do so much better than that. They're just raping me on these merchant account fees. So I would spend the weekend kicking and mumbling about how I was going to fix it on Monday, and I would start on Monday, and I would make 3 phone calls, and then business would get in the way. Mm-hmm. My phone would ring, and there would be something that I had to avert my attention to. And I never got around to finding a better merchant account solution. Yeah. And if I had to quantify what Schooley-Mitchell does, that's what we do for our customers, is we take that burden off of their plate, and they know that they've got someone who is motivated to help them save money, because the more money I save for you, the more money I charge you.
Right.
And that's just the reality of the business that we
Sure.
do. But I really enjoy the places that Schooley-Mitchell takes me. I've had the opportunity to talk to nonprofits, to small business owners, to small retail customers. And I've actually had the opportunity to talk to friends of mine. And that's a unique experience for me, to go to a friend of mine where I know that if I can save them $15,000 a year, that's going to make a fundamental difference in their business.
It's $15,000 in their pocket,
Exactly.
minus the Schooley-Mitchell fee. But
and
still
the
worth
cool part about that is when I asked them, what would $7,500 mean to you guys at the end of the year? I mean, that's a pretty nice Christmas party.
Yeah.
If nothing else.
Yeah.
If you don't want to put it in your pocket and you want to share it with your employees,
Sure.
or it's $7,500 towards a better medical plan for them, or a retirement savings plan for them. So it's really cool to be able to offer that to my customers. So that's where I'm at and what I'm doing, and that's why I'm so excited about doing it.
What are some of the, maybe top 3 or 4 savings categories that you focus? Do you have a checklist you sort of start with?
There's 15 or 16 different categories that we help customers with. One of the ones that seems to come to mind is merchant account fees. So for a small heating and air conditioning company that takes credit cards, but their technicians have the ability to take a credit card, lowering their merchant fees by 25 or 30% is a significant savings for them.
Sure. So
merchant account fees are one of the big ones. Fuel is one. So if you've got a fleet of vehicles out on the road every day, if we can save you 30% on your fuel purchases, that's significant. One of the ones that I really was drawn to initially with Schooley-Mitchell was the telecom. Having worked for a service provider, sold to a service provider, and owned a service provider, I think I understand that business pretty well. And when I tell my customers that we can save them money, it's not because Verizon's a crooked company. It's just that the nature of the business that they do, phone bills can creep up, and they can creep up for reasons that have nothing to do with Verizon. They're just the reality of, you start out with 10 lines and 2 employees leave, and you're still paying those other 2 phone lines. And to have somebody like Schooley-Mitchell watching over those costs are a real comfort to small business owners, because they truly don't have the time or the expertise to do the fact finding that needs to take place.
That's
Makes
cool.
a lot of sense.
What do you think your biggest expenditure that you could save on is, Matt?
Ooh, I would probably say processing fees with credit card processing things.
Really?
And I've seen a lot of different companies like advertise for being able to beat different rates and things like that. As a newer business, year in, we don't quite have the problem of having so many lines open and forgetting about that. But I think that would probably be the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
In our neck of the game. So
I know it is a lot, but I feel like we're like boxed in because we use an e-commerce platform that only uses Stripe. And I can't change the platform at this point without rebuilding the entire business, which
Right.
I'll do
That's the
eventually,
caveat,
but
is you
I
have to
can't
change
do that.
completely, yeah.
So it's just like I'm stuck with Stripe's fees,
Right.
So I mean, there's other savings opportunities, obviously, but sorry, what was
One of the services that we provide is if we come to you and say, we need to change your merchant account processor, we do the heavy lifting of making that transition smooth for you, because typically the clients that I talk to don't have the expertise to
Right.
to manage
I
tearing
know I sure
down one.
don't.
Yep.
Whenever I would
Yeah.
have to think about that as a
So it's one of the benefits that Schooley-Mitchell brings to their clients is that we manage that transition for you.
And then is it sort of like a one-time thing, or do you guys have sort of like a ongoing dashboard to keep up with things?
It's absolutely ongoing. It's not just the human element. We've got proprietary purpose-built software that looks at your waste management bills and finds errors or billing errors or some sort of cost savings there.
So
That's
you're
really cool.
constantly maintaining that the most efficient, the most cost-effective
Absolutely.
option for
Every month.
every client. Nice.
Yep.
It reminds me of like the business version of those consumer apps you see where it's like, are you paying for subscriptions you don't use?
Like, was it Rocket Money or something? or
Yeah,
other?
Rocket Money.
Rocket
Is that
Money,
what it is?
yeah.
I think that's
Fuel,
what it
Rocket
is.
Money, yeah.
It just sounds very similar.
It is.
in
It is.
concept, but
It is.
obviously on a grander scale for business. That's really cool.
So our founder, Dennis Schooley, is a CPA by trade. So he started the business by looking at other people's expense categories and knowing that there was a better way. And
Yeah.
so he started Schooley-Mitchell.
There's a better way, guys. There's a better way.
here to
Heard it
help.
here first.
Yep.
That's very cool. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your passion. I mean, you mentioned your wife. Where'd you meet your wife?
So I met my wife in Lake Anna, Virginia.
Yeah.
My parents had a lake house there, and one of their neighbors was a couple who worked for my father-in-law. And the lady kept telling me, I've got this girl you've got to meet. Okay, all right. And she said, she's a great girl, but she just doesn't eat meat. And I still tease my wife about that to this day, 32 years
Being
later.
a vegetarian.
Yeah. So
Is she like full vegan or
no,
vegetarian?
I cured her of.
Oh, she eats meat.
yeah. So she introduced us, and we dated for about a year, and like I said, she never figured out she could have done better, and I asked her to marry me, and luckily enough, she did. So,
Well done, man.
Yep.
Well done.
Yep.
Very good.
So
And you had said how? Do you have two kids?
I have two adult daughters,
Cool.
Kelly and Melissa.
Yeah.
Kelly, our oldest, is the proud mother of our two grandchildren,
gonna ask,
which
grandkids?
Lori and I are absolutely,
Over the moon.
oh my God. I can't describe to you how cool it is to be a grandfather.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So
Are they local, close
they
by?
are.
Okay.
They
great.
are.
Great.
And
No, it's a big deal.
they will always be local, whether they want us to be around or
Right,
not.
you're like, I'm following.
We're going to be there. So,
Fair enough.
yeah.
I remember. Oh, so we just found out we're pregnant. About.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats,
So my
man.
wife's about 4 months in, and just telling my dad, I just remember that he was so happy. He was just so over the moon. So I can imagine that's kind of how you felt. And now they're here.
I remember the day that we were at my parents' house, and my daughters were probably 2 and 3 years old. And I walked into the kitchen, and he had them sitting in these chairs at the island. They're eating pie. And I said, Dad, what are you doing? And he said, well, we're eating breakfast. And I said, you're eating pie. Well, that's what they wanted. And I thought to myself, someone has kidnapped the man that raised me and substituted this guy that I
would
don't
never
know.
have flown as.
That's what grandkids are for, right?
Right.
That's exactly right.
You raise your kids so that they would raise their kids. But
Yeah.
then, once you're done with that first round of kids, you can treat the
All
other
bets are
kids.
off.
Hey,
All bets
just
are
do whatever you
Yep.
want.
It's really cool to be able to walk into my grandkids' house, and I'm Mr. Fun.
Yeah.
It drives my daughter crazy, I'm sure, but that's all right.
What are you gonna do?
That's the price you have to pay for having me as a father.
What do you do for fun?
I'm a golfer.
Yeah.
I Was a fairly accomplished golfer, not so much anymore, but
right.
Age has.
What was your handicap, like 4 or 5?
It was 4.
Dang.
It's not anymore, but Father Time has stomped me back down to about a 14 or 15 handicap now.
It's still pretty good, man.
Well, it's good if you can get that many strokes out of the people that remembered
That's
you when
exactly
you were
right.
a 4.
Did you feel like golf was important to your career at any point?
I did, because I took the opportunity. If you can meet a customer who is a golfer and you can take them to play golf, it gives you the ability to spend 4 hours in a golf cart with someone and really get to know them. Because, if you're just knocking on their door and going in and sitting in the conference room, you don't have an opportunity to ask the questions about the family. And I found that most customers or most people, they have a why. And if you talk to me very long, you'll find out my why is my family.
Sure.
And it's good to know in the business world what somebody's why is, because if you can tap into that, it just makes relationships and the sales process a whole lot easier, because people tend to buy from people they like.
Yep.
And
they don't fire people they like as quickly.
You're correct. And the more questions you can ask about someone's why, the more they will talk about it. And the more you allow them to talk about it, the better they'll like you.
Yeah, and so golf lent itself.
It seems to, yeah.
It's a great
Yep.
atmosphere for it.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yep.
Obviously, this is we know each other from Purpose Networking, so we are here on Wednesday mornings at Raleigh Founded Gateway. It starts at 8 o'clock, 8:15 or so. So please come on down if you are looking to network in the Raleigh area. So it's a networking group, right? And we've met through here. And we always try to ask, for network, what's your take on networking? What's something that you've learned maybe over the years that you feel like is useful? And you did mention, 2 ears, 1 mouth. That's a big thing. But, are there any networking tips that you would share with our watchers, listeners, things
I
like that?
would say, if you're like me, a new business owner, and you're looking to, trying to figure out how am I going to find customers or find opportunities, I can't think of a better way to do it than networking, because you're surrounded by people that are like-minded. We're all after the same thing. But if you can show up and genuinely have the attitude of helping someone else, because I've got to tell you, that's the most fun I'm having with Schooley-Mitchell, is helping someone else. And my kids are grown, so I don't have the same income pressures that you have when you've got mouths to feed, as you'll find out in a few more months.
I am excited. I'm good. All the baby list stuff is just so expensive. Everything's crazy.
I'm sure it is.
Don't buy a snoo. Apparently, the snoo is like $1,500 freaking crib or whatever, bassinet. Ridiculous. Anyway, I cut you off.
That's all right. I don't even know what I was going to say.
Your networking tip, you're saying?
Oh, yeah. Just if you can show up at a networking event with the goal of trying to help somebody, you'd be amazed at how often somebody will help you. Mm-hmm. So it's just a little karma thing.
It's the whole idea of this group, Giver's Gain.
Yeah.
So we read that book, The Go-Giver. Highly recommend that. The more you give, the more you get. It's pretty simple.
It seems to be that. Yeah.
But some people don't get that, or they're just busy, or they just haven't locked in focus. I feel like I've been through this, as a young person. Like, there's times where I'm just not locked in focus wise, and I'm just not paying attention, and I don't do as well, and I don't feel as good, and I don't have as much success. And when I lock in, kind of focus on things, it's, lo and behold, things work out pretty well. So.
Yep. I'll tell you a story. I was at a networking event about a month ago, and I met a guy who will become a client of mine, but right now he's just a friend. And they run a foundation to help caregivers of people with Alzheimer's. And my father has Alzheimer's. So I'm watching the struggles that my mom is going through with my father. And I've just connected with these folks. And I promise you, I don't care if I ever make a nickel. My life is better for having connected with these folks. And that's what I think networking is all about.
Absolutely. It's about developing friendships.
Yep.
And just making everybody better. So
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, Steve, we really appreciate your time. We got to get going, but it's really nice to talk with you. You are a very insightful, intelligent young man. I would
Thank
say.
you. Yes.
And
don't
so
get called that often.
tell us more about how people could reach you, contact you, learn about what you do.
Well, if you're interested in taking advantage of the benefits that Schooley-Mitchell brings to you, certainly go to the Schooley-Mitchell website and you can look
What's
up.
that website?
It's
Schooley-Mitchell.com.
Schooley-Mitchell.com. Yeah. And
How do you spell Schooley?
SCHOOLEY.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's like Scholley almost.
You're talking to the dyslexic kid, so I'm sure that was a test.
You did great there, though.
Thank you. I've written it a couple times.
There you go. What's your email?
Stephen.dale@schooleymitchell.com.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. So you can help people save money.
I certainly can. Yep. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We appreciate you. This has been the Purpose Podcast. Gordon and Matt here. We are having some fun here in Raleigh, North Carolina. We will be back next week. I think we got one scheduled as well, so we're excited about that. Make sure you listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and like this on YouTube. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great day.